Buongiorno di nuovo, welcome back. This is going to be in English, Customs as a partner for recovery. Italian Export Forum. We're going to start with a short video. Welcome back. Really impressive. The year that stopped the world. But somebody never stopped. We're talking about customs here, and we're going to do this with Christian Bock, General Director of the Federal Customs Administration of Switzerland. If you will come here for a round of applause and your stage. Thank you very much for being here. Megan Shaw, Chief of International Relations, Border and Trade of UK, United Kingdom. Welcome, Megan. Thank you very much. Grazie. And Gerasimos Thomas, Director General, Tax European Commission. Here we go. Thank you very much. Welcome. Buongiorno. And again, Marcello Minenna, Direttore Generale dell'Agenzia delle Accise, Dogane e Monopoli Italiano. He was with us even earlier this morning. We're going to keep talking with Mr. Minenna. Welcome back. Grazie, please. Thank you very much. And Debbie Seguin, Assistant Commissioner for the U.S. Customs and Border Protection of INA. Thank you. Thank you very much. So after taking a look to this short and, as I was saying, very, very impressive video, I would give the word to my friends here for a round of presentation. So we're going to have a couple of slides in PowerPoint, and then maybe we can discuss around this. So who's going to start? I would say we can start from here. I think you need maybe this for your slides. Thank you very much. Or maybe you can just say next whenever you need to jump the page. Okay, so straight to the point, and thank you very much for being here. Please.
And is my microphone on and working?
Yes.
Wonderful.
Please.
Thank you. So, are my slides available on screen? Whilst we're waiting.
No, questa è Svizzera.
Oh, that's your presentation.
Maybe Switzerland want to start in the meanwhile.
We can start with Christian.
Okay, so we have our director proposing Switzerland, and we're going to have Switzerland. So, please. Thank you. So if we may have the Switzerland presentation, we're going to start here from the left. Ok. La possiamo avere nello schermo grande? Eccolo. Here we go.
It's mine.
Okay.
It is mine.
So then again, I'm sorry.
That's no problem.
Let's go
That's
through.
Lovely.
So ladies first.
We're very adaptable, as COVID has shown. So let me introduce myself. My name's Megan Shaw. I'm head of our Customs International branch in HMRC, Her Majesty's Revenue and Customs in the UK. Very, very glad to be here today. Thank you very much for the invitation. Thank you, of course, to the organisers, the IEF, for organising this event, in-person event. We're all very excited with that. Thank you also to Luca for chairing, and to my fellow panellists as well. I wanted to just start by mentioning that, of course, over the last 2 years, we've witnessed absolutely unprecedented disruption to the global economy. We've all experienced the impacts that COVID-19 has had on our personal lives, on our work that we do as customs agencies, and also on our businesses and our economies as well. It's also highlighted why it's important now more than ever to ensure that our customs systems and our borders are built to be as efficient and as responsive as possible. It's for this reason, amongst others, of course, that the UK is embarking on an ambitious customs modernisation programme to ensure that we support our government's wider agenda to build back better following the pandemic, and that we're resilient enough to adapt to any future changing circumstances. Okay, I will move on to my first proper slide. Where am I aiming this? Yeah? So, in December, we published our UK border strategy for 2025, and that sets out the UK's ambitions and priority areas for our customs and border transformation for the next 5 years. The development of this strategy drew heavily on the expertise and input shared by the border industry, trade associations and logistics companies, following a series of public consultation workshops. So the strategy is very much intended to be user-centric, and its successful delivery is dependent also on working in partnership with the private sector. Drawing on the knowledge and insight obtained from stakeholders across the UK, we identified a number of priorities to focus on in the next 5 years. Firstly, we acknowledged the need to embrace innovation and explore the benefits of adopting transformative technology and advanced data analytics within our customs and border processes. We want to ensure that the UK border is resilient, innovative, and able to respond in an agile manner to major events and changing trends, whatever they might be. Secondly, we've made a commitment to explore reducing administrative burdens on legitimate traders by making processes and systems easier to navigate. Digitalization and technology will also be key to this, as well as encouraging more businesses to participate in our trusted trader schemes. Our ultimate aim in reducing administrative burdens is, of course, to create a UK border that promotes economic growth by facilitating international trade between businesses of all sizes, including small to medium-sized enterprises. Finally, we want to improve how we protect the UK from those who pose a risk to us. For example, by deterring and disrupting organised crime, identifying and seizing illicit goods, and preventing abuse of the customs system. Over the next 5 years, we'll gather more data on goods crossing our border to detect and disrupt threats to the UK. Okay. I just wanted to talk very briefly about a couple of those transformations. The first is paperless trade. We're seeking to make the UK border digital by default by 2025, meaning we have the systems and the legal framework to relieve traders of the need to carry or submit paper forms. The pandemic highlighted benefits of digitalisation of trade for economic resilience and for the health of our staff and customers, so that border processes could be without contact. Since the start of the pandemic, the UK has taken a number of steps to achieve this, both domestically and internationally. These include unilateral steps to upgrade our IT and digitise our customs processes, whilst maintaining robust compliance standards, of course, benefiting from the experience that we've gained from temporary easements during COVID-19. We're also working on legal reforms to align with those principles, so that documents like the Bill of Lading can be fully digitalised, with the vast potential benefits for business. We've also worked within the G7 to encourage others to promote similar reforms. We're also active in the WTO to accelerate implementation of the Trade Facilitation Agreement, which has truly demonstrated its worth in helping countries to manage the challenges of the pandemic. We also support efforts to agree new rules for digital trade for MC12 in the Joint Initiative on E-commerce. The second point I wanted to talk about was single trade window. This is an area that others will, of course, be very familiar with. Another area where we're looking to modernise is through the development of our single window, which is one of the biggest transformations set out in our strategy. That's also where we're working closely with our international partners who have already taken strides to introduce their own single windows. Currently in the UK, traders must submit information to multiple systems to move their goods across the UK border. That acts as a barrier to trade, making it harder for traders to understand customs requirements and therefore more costly to meet those requirements. So our vision is that our single window is an online portal where traders can complete, review, and submit all documentation they need to trade in one place. The single window will also become the UK's single digital gateway to access all guidance relating to border processes as well. Our aim is to have that single window operational by 2025, with functionality extending to users in stages as development progresses. And just very quickly, I wanted to talk about trade and health. So this is more about our global customs approach as opposed to our domestic. The COVID-19 crisis has clearly taught us that resilient, robust and diversified supply are very important to effectively manage public health emergencies. So in the UK, businesses must be authorised to HMRC or by HMRC before they can use most trade facilitations. As part of our COVID management, we prioritised the simplification of those customs authorisations during the pandemic, for instance, by permitting applications to be sent to HMRC via email without the immediate need for a wet signature. And we also automatically extended customs authorisations that were due to expire where businesses had been unable to renew them. The third point is that we agreed with trade partners to allow preferential tariff rates to be claimed by importers using electronic rather than paper documents. More can be done on a global scale, though, we feel, to ensure resilience against future crises. Acceleration of the implementation of the Trade Facilitation Agreement would further expedite the movement, release and clearance of goods. The UK, as part of the Ottawa Group, is one of the co-sponsors of the Trade and Health Initiative, with 24 other WTO members who collectively cover over 80% of exports in critical medical goods. The initiative calls on the WTO members to implement trade facilitating measures for essential medical goods in areas of customs, services, and technical regulations. It also calls for further cooperation amongst WCO members and between the WTO and other international organisations. Despite the success of this event today, we are still today tackling the COVID-19 crisis, of course, and the consequences of it for our health and for our economies. Through initiatives like the Trade and Health Initiative, we and trade facilitation more generally can play a role in the ongoing response. We hope to drive forward the adoption of a declaration at the November WTO conference. Okay, I'm conscious of time. I don't want to take up too much time in the presentation, so I shall skip over our capacity building efforts, but of course that is very important as we recover from the pandemic. And I will leave it there. So overall, of course, the pandemic has markedly changed the way we manage our borders. A challenge the global customs community has embraced and worked collaboratively to tackle. So I thank you all for your collaboration and my international partners as well. Thank you very much.
Grazie. Thank you very much. I already have a question for you, because the video we saw as a start of this panel, with that kind of video, it's of course impossible not to talk about the pandemic, and that's what you were already doing. But with you, it's impossible not to talk about Brexit.
Of course.
So,
I was ready for the question, Luca.
Of course you were. So after this kind of initial drop of the trade between EU and the UK, do we have any positive signs right now? I mean, statistics are telling us a different story, a better story. Mm-hmm. So would you tell us something about that, about this positive way of a fresh start between us?
Of course, of course. One thing I would say is that it's very difficult to assess the level of trade between us and the EU just now, given the effects of COVID. I think we're reluctant at the moment to draw conclusions because we don't know what the effects of that are versus the effect of our EU exit. So I'm reluctant to share statistics with you today for that very reason, but certainly we're very positive that trade is free-flowing between the EU and the UK now.
So we're still friends.
We are, of course.
Thank you. And just one more thing about the Northern Ireland Protocol working. So it's, what can you tell us about that? It's very important in the UK, and it's very important to us, of course.
It is. So Northern Ireland remains a key part of the UK. And we published a command paper just very recently to ensure that the protocol continues to work for us and for the EU. And we are, of course, having discussions with our TAXUD colleagues about that. So I won't go into great detail about that, but we are, of course, working collaboratively together to make sure that the protocol can work for all sides.
Thank you very much. So we go through with the ladies first, and from the UK, we jump to the United States of America with Debbie Seguin. I would love you, could introduce, I don't remember if you have a presentation or anyway, if you can introduce your point of view on this era, this brand new era, and even about this fresh start. Is it a fresh start after the Trump presidency with now Joe Biden? So, from customs to the new Biden era.
So thank you very much.
It's a huge question, I know.
Yes,
I'm sorry about that.
And we'll talk about whether we're still friends after this later. Buongiorno. I hope it's still early enough for buongiorno. I've had so many shots of good Italian espresso that I'm losing track of time. Before I start, I want to thank the Italian Export Forum and also the Customs Monopolies Agency for hosting this event and bring us all together. I am so glad that we started today's presentation with the video from ADM. In one video, it really expressed what I wanted to talk about today, except with very exciting music. So congratulations on making customs inspections look exciting. But really what the video shows for me is hope and trust that our trade partners should trust that regardless of what happens, that even in a time of crisis like the COVID health pandemic, that the customs agencies represented by each one of us here on the stage today, we will persevere, we will find new and innovative ways to facilitate trade and for some of us travel as well. Before I share a little bit of our experiences, I feel that I must describe the agency that I come from, the U.S. Customs and Border Protection, because we're a bit unique. CBP, that's what we refer to ourselves as, we're the first U.S. unified border entity, and we take a comprehensive approach to border management and control. What does that mean? It means that we combined customs, immigration, border security, and agricultural protection all under one agency, and we're able to coordinate very efficiently from within to adequately protect our U.S. border. And it is this mission set that has allowed CBP to play a critical role in COVID response and recovery in the United States. During the sudden uncertainty caused by COVID, which I'm sure we all experienced together, CBP immediately formulated 3 priorities to focus on. I don't think this is a surprise to anyone. Number 1, we realized that we have to immediately protect our workforce. Number 2, we had to keep trade flowing. And number 3, we had to prepare for the future so that there's a readiness component in case there's another crisis or major event. I'll address these quickly in turn. Insofar as the workforce, we have an agency of over 60,000 personnel, and the majority of our employees are frontline officers. And just like the video showed, their mission did not stop regardless of the health pandemic. In fact, I think we were working double time. We really needed to make sure that critical goods, like foods and medical supplies and personal protective equipment quickly came into the country or arrived at destinations that they needed to go to ensure the health and safety of the public and make sure that the hospitals were well stocked so that they can react and respond quickly. But what we did also was to work with our public health officials in articulating and developing a risk management approach to provide the knowledge and equipment necessary for our frontline officers and agents to perform their jobs, but in a very safe manner. Although most of our personnel could not telework or telecommute, we did allow the administrative staff to do that for their health and safety where possible. And when vaccines came out, we certainly had a real push for our personnel to get the vaccinations. Still, we've experienced the highest death during this pandemic. Right now, we're at over 60 officers and agents who have passed since the pandemic. And so what we will endeavor to continue to do is refine our risk management and make sure that, we're constantly, and making sure that we have personal protective equipment well stocked so that we can ensure the safety of our workforce. Okay, and so I'm sure this is a topic that perhaps you're most interested in, which is to keep the supply chains flowing. We know that disruptions of supply chain threatens the livelihoods of businesses, of workers, economies at large, and certainly that has an impact globally. And so I think, not unlike other customs agencies, we quickly maneuver to ensure that we were expediting critical goods and equipment insofar as trade was concerned. Because travel went down, because we have passenger facilitation as part of our mission, we were able to move our officers from passenger to cargo and started working with other U.S. agencies that, covered, like the Food and Drug Agency that covered, had jurisdiction over medical equipment to expedite those goods to hospitals. And later on, this process and the interagency group that we have been able to form was also used for the initial vaccine distribution process. And as a result of this interagency coordination, we were able to release over 400 flights at 17 ports of entries and imported over 1.3 billion pieces of PPE, and we facilitated 800 shipments with over 124 million, valued at over 124 million. Of course, where there's demand for goods, there is fraud. And as a law enforcement agency, preventing illicit goods from traveling through or entering through our borders is a critical part of our mission. And in that regard, my office worked with our trade intelligence unit through our vast network of attachés and partnerships with other international customs counterparts. We were able to gather intelligence and identify goods that were counterfeit, that would harm the health and safety of individuals that they serve. And just in the last year and a half during the pandemic, we seized over 40 million fake masks, 187,000 counterfeit test kits, and 450,000 counterfeit hand sanitizers that did not receive the proper health approval. As well, on the trade front, we quickly worked with the trade community to assist importers during this time and provided them temporary duty relief of more than $574 million for nearly 3,000 U.S. businesses to help them stay financially viable during the economic downturn. So lastly, just looking forward and thinking beyond the current situation, planning for the future, very much like what my colleague Megan has already presented, we are examining the ways that goods are cleared at borders from a fresh perspective. And we're embracing digital transformation. Of course, the U.S. Single window has been up and running for some time now, and we're sharing lessons learned, whether it be good or bad, with our other customs partners. And other, of course, just embracing other technologies as well, including non-intrusive inspection devices, the scanners, artificial intelligence, and just looking at how we can fully digitize and conduct the paperless clearance of goods. Of course, these and other technological advances offer tangible benefits in terms of collecting, combining, sharing, and analyzing data that allows us to more efficiently and effectively implement our trade controls. Insofar as proceeding forward, we're certainly under a new administration, the President Biden's administration, and we're about almost a year into it, less than a year, I shall say. And it is a new start. With each administration, we see new starts, and there's a renewed interest in certainly engagement, working with our counterparts. I think not only politically, but the COVID has slowed down our ability to work with our international partners. Events and forums such as this one were non-existent, and I think that's why we're all so thankful and happy to be here today. And I expect to see more of this moving forward and really working collaboratively to ensure modernization in customs processes and further facilitate trade. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thanks. Assistant Commissioner, let me read some data here to introduce my question for you, my next question. So, the United States in 2020 was the largest partner for European Union exports of goods. So we have like 18.3%, and the second largest partner for EU imports of goods. So we have 11.8%. But we have no dedicated free trade agreement between European Union and the United States. I mean, the negotiations started in 2013, and they were closed officially in 2019. Is there any chance we can resume that kind of agreement between two important realities, European Union and United States?
So, as you mentioned, the negotiations were closed, and I believe the administration is interested in having discussions and talks, although it's a bit outside of CBP's remit. I think we should always proceed with hope and collaboration. Certainly, the lack of the agreement hasn't resulted in lack of collaboration and trade facilitation. So I think we'll have to see what happens into the future.
Finger crossed. Thank you very much. Thanks again. And talking about European Union, here we come with the European Commission. I would love to discuss, for example, about this. So if this kind of agreement is a goal for the European Union, and then again back on customs and, for example, e-commerce. We were talking about that, about the positive impact that they have on world economy, but even about the risks that e-commerce brings with it.
That's for me.
No,
Okay.
I'm giving the word to the European Commission.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning. So, first of all, to clarify, because nobody probably knows what tax-sud means, so I don't know. This is one of the strange acronyms made in Brussels for the Brussels bubble, is Tax and Customs Union. So we are trying to keep adequate level of cooperation between the customs authorities and the tax authorities. And we have quite a lot of common European legislations in customs matters, less so in tax matters. On the other hand, now with the recovery post-pandemic, we have a very big drive internationally to agree minimum tax rules at the world level. So we are working very much with our partners around the world to have this global agreement this October under Italian G20 presidency for minimum taxation worldwide to support the recovery. Now, just to make a comment on your previous questions, I think the relationship, the bilateral relationship with the US, the economic relationship is very strong. And we shouldn't only focus, let's say, on the FTA. We have now TTC Council. It was established by EU and the new Biden administration. We have a Trade and Cooperation Council. They will be meeting at the end of this month. Next week, in fact, there is a senior delegation by Executive Vice President Dombrovskis and Executive Vice President Vestager. And I think they are looking at the crucial, transatlantic interests in trade, and the relationship is very close. And in fact, in geopolitical terms, it's, with the Biden administration, dialogue across all sectors has probably warmed up again. I think the e-commerce is one of the mega trends that has accelerated, COVID has accelerated. I mean, the topic of this panel is how customs can be a partner to recovery, and the customs have an important role to restart, let's say, and help the economy restart post-COVID. But I think customs has also to deliver on a number of other mega trends that, took place over the last years, and they will push the role of customs to new levels. I think the one is e-commerce. The other one, I think, is what I call the fast-changing consumer preferences. And the consumers, when it comes to customs, and the businesses, when they come to customs, they want us not only to look at the fiscal side of customs, collect the customs duties, collect the VAT, collect the excise duties. The export community, the businesses, the small businesses, like the gentleman this morning, he asked about blockchain and the wine, they want the customs to do more on what we call non-fiscal duties. How do we control the different regulatory requirements? We estimate in the union that customs was in the past, let's say, 90% fiscal controls and 10% others, and now it's probably the fiscal controls is 40% of the job. Customs have to control, the quality of the agricultural products. They have to cooperate with the agencies of the phytosanitary agencies to ensure this. They have to cooperate with environmental agencies. We want to both to export and to import things that are environmentally sustainable. We are making proposals, my department will make proposals on how we will check the carbon content of the different products and the raw materials that come in and out. The number of non-fiscal duties that fall on customs are rising exponentially, and I think this is being a trading community. From the company's point of view, I think customs has a very tough job to do to accelerate, to change as fast as it is needed to serve our customers, the stakeholders. And this is the challenge. I think we are doing a lot of things. I liked Mr. Minena in the previous panel. He says, customs reacted to COVID, and I dare add also to Brexit, with entrepreneurial, let's say, spirit. I mean, we did things, and that all the customs, and I don't take any merit because I'm only 1 year in this job, but I think they reacted with entrepreneurial spirit and also a great sense of public service, I would add. And they managed to deliver an excellent job, both for COVID and for Brexit, and I put it as a positive, element in the discussion. And we have to do this much more. So, from the European Union point of view, what we are doing for all our customs, agencies in the EU, first of all, within the EU, is to have a big digitalization program. We will spend 1 billion to get the data flowing between the customs authorities of the member states. We need to upgrade their systems in the next 5 years to make sure that the different information collected by each customs authority flows around. And we see the importance of it both for health and other reasons. I mean, we were mentioned the problems that we had during COVID to make sure that the masks or the different things were well coordinated. Second, we will spend quite a lot of resources. We have started a new 1 billion program to provide additional customs equipment to the European customs. Many customs agencies, like many public administrations in the EU, have been suffering from money to have personnel, to have equipment. So we don't have one customs agency, but we do have now the possibility as of this year to provide equipment that it will be with interoperability characteristics, and they can be served for the controls of the different customs agencies. But most importantly, I think we have created, we are giving an important boost to legislation that will allow to the EU to move very fast in the single window at an EU level, because we have excellent examples like in Italy or in other countries, but it has to work for the whole Union. We have to remember, and we don't often think about this, when it comes to customs, we don't have customs within Europe. Customs is our third country borders. So to have a very good customs in one country and a very weak customs in another country of the Union, it creates vulnerabilities for the whole system. We have interlinkages that don't work. So for e-commerce, I think we will use these challenges to try through in e-commerce to deal with the particular changes of the e-commerce. What does e-commerce do? It changes the trade flows. Instead of going to bringing 10 million t-shirts in a container to Rotterdam port, you bring 10 million t-shirts one by one through the airport in Frankfurt. And you need to clear them. So it changes the trade routes, it changes the way you clear things, and it creates a lot of work that has to be handled in a different way. Also, the way we check them or collect, let's say, the resources. We have introduced last July, it was also mentioned in the previous panel in Italian by Mr. Minena, that we will now collect VAT and clear customs for all goods starting from zero. So we need much more technology. We need to adjust the focus on border crosses points, and we need to work in an intelligent way more with our partners. You will not control the e-commerce packages the same way we were controlling the containers. We use payment systems. As of 1st of July last year, you can buy your let's say, any goods on Amazon or Alibaba or whatever website that you have, and you pay at the website, you can pay the VAT and the customs duties, and then it can be shipped. So the customs, in simple terms, not in legal terms, but they subcontract, let's say, this to the payment systems. And then we have to work with the payment systems providers to collect the data. So e-commerce is introducing structural changes to the way the customs work, and it will, in order to support it as part of the recovery, we need to again employ an entrepreneurial spirit. in this, and I'm sure the customs will do in Europe and elsewhere with our partners.
Thank you, thank you. Director General Thomas, thank you very much. You were talking about the difference we have among all of the countries, of course. Is there any issue with the disproportionate regulation and standards among countries? Is that kind of unfair, the regulation we have in one place when in other countries you don't have them, or you have them really weak? Is it unfair?
I don't know if it is, I mean, whether it's a matter of fairness. I mean, we do have very high standards in Europe. So, and it is important for us to be able to secure that we can control them. So our consumers, when we import things, we want high standards. So then the question that we have is double-fold. When we export, is it our policy, let's say, both from the public perspective but also from the private sector? Do we want to be an exporter of low standards? I think no. This is neither, policy-wise, and nor is the area where we have a competitive advantage. We have competitive advantage in exporting excellence, not in exporting low standards. And I think that what we try to do is we try to have more bilateral agreements in order to make sure that our, let's say, high standards flow well. Now, one way to do it is by having more authorized economic operator agreements. I mean, we have given a big boost. There are now 90% of our trade is covered by authorized economic operators' mutual agreements. We have to work very closely with them to make sure that these agreements are well monitored and work well, so that the private sector plays its role. But I don't think it is. Our challenge is to complain about sort of lower standards elsewhere. We want to export good products, and I think we have to achieve a situation that it is done efficiently.
Thank you very much. And that point was stressed by the European Commission. Thanks again. So we come, thanks, Judy. Thanks. We come to Switzerland, and then we have a final comment. So the presentation we have right here, I don't know if the remote control, yes, it's right here. So the word to you. Thank you very much. Microfono.
Is it working? Estimadas dunas, preciados senhores, preciados colegas, estimados colegas. Spero di non aver creato confusione salutandovi della quarta lingua nazionale della Svizzera, il romancio. Ma capirete presto perché vi saluto in una lingua che condividiamo con l'Italia insieme alla lingua ladina e alla lingua friulana. È un piacere per me essere quest'oggi, grazie per avermi invitato. La collaborazione tra le dogane e il settore privato è importante. Insieme che riusciamo ad affrontare le sfide del mondo di oggi. L'amministrazione federale delle dogane si trova attualmente in una fase di completa trasformazione. Da un lato stiamo rivedendo, semplificando e digitalizzando i nostri processi e dall'altro stiamo operando un importante sviluppo organizzativo in modo da essere molto più flessibile. Oggi mi concentrerò sull'aspetto della digitalizzazione del nostro programma DAZIT. DAZIT si compone da DAZI, che in romancio significa dogana, e T, che sta per trasformazione. Permettimi ora di passare alla lingua di Dante, alla lingua di Shakespeare.
Grazie.
Yes. So, like USCBP, the Swiss Federal Customs Administration has a comprehensive task with all responsibilities directly at the border. Our mission statement is rather simple. It says we provide comprehensive security at the border for the public, the economy, and the state. And if you look at these three major partners we have, let me share some ideas about that with you. Protecting the public is rather simple. We protect Switzerland towards all dangerous people and all dangerous goods. Protecting the economy on one hand is helping the economy that all customs and tax procedures at the borders are running smoothly, but at the same time that the same rules applies for everyone. And finally, for the state, we are responsible for 1/3 of the income of the Swiss Confederation, or on the other hand, we protect the Swiss borders. What we need for the future, and I think specifically COVID-19 has shown to us, is we need an adaptable and a flexible organization. We coped already in the past with irregular migration coming in or through our country. We coped with sendings from China, as mentioned before, which are arriving and which do not respect the high European and Swiss standards. We have an increase in traffic which we see at the borders every day. So customs administration have to be able to cope with that. Today we have 4 reasons to stop at the border. First of all, you stop there in order to present your papers. You have to make the import procedure. Then you may have to pay some taxes like the road toll. And finally, there might be an inspection. So these are original papers which you see here, either when you go from north to south or south to north, so you are entering at Como Chiasso. You have a lot of paper which you have to fill out. The procedure is you stand there, you stop your truck, you get the paper, you stop again to present your paper. If you have not yet paid the road toll, you stop also for that, you pay, and at the end, finally, you can go through. What we want to do is rather easy. We do not want you to stop for any administrative procedure. So it means with a tool we call border ticket, you have everything in electronic form. All declarations are there. We have an automatic detection of the truck. And finally, everything will be activated and dealt with electronically. Of course, there might be some controls at the end which are necessary, and physical control still will be carried out. But in most of the cases, more than 98% trucks shall be able no longer to stop at the Swiss border. A procedure you're seeing here, and it's important for me to stress, this is not paperwork, this is real life. We are already working with such an app which will give you see it here on the right, a blue flash. Yes, you're okay, you can enter. This is running for more than 1 year already, not rolled out on every borders in Switzerland, but in many cases this is already possible. This is not future, this is the reality. Yes, we have all the information. You see here an example of automatic license plate reader. We are able to know which truck is arriving. We have all the information, what we have on a truck, and the whole procedure can be dealt with electronically. It's important. This is not a Swiss-only solution. We are based on European system, the European Electronic Toll Service. So you might use the same system you are using in Italy as in Switzerland. Yes, I've said this. Yes, and I'm coming to the end. What we will have here is, Yes, the border ticket, and it's a very big pleasure for me to announce this will not take another year. We will start by 3rd of October. We will start at our common border in Gaggello Stabio, and about approximately 1 month later in Chiasso, already together with our Italian counterparts, and thanks a lot that this is possible. So we are realizing it. It's not about future, but it's the complete change of a custom procedure. Permettimi al fine da dire un po' una frase personale. Il film all'inizio mi aveva toccato. La situazione che abbiamo visto con Covid-19 era veramente speciale. Durante tutta la crisi, la collaborazione tra ADM e le AFD ha funzionato bene, l'importazione del materiale ha funzionato, ma abbiamo un altro aspetto. Ogni giorno in cantone di Ticino, allora la parte che parla l'italiano della Svizzera, abbiamo 67.000 frontalieri che entrano in Svizzera. Un terzo dei lavoratori in cantone di Ticino che sono dall'Italia, e specialmente tutto il personale per gli ospedali sono molti cittadini dell'Italia, e durante questa fase, questa crisi, questa pandemia, questi collaboratori hanno fatto ogni giorno l'entrata in Svizzera per aiutare e per supportare il sistema svizzero. Allora grazie all'Italia.
Grazie Mr. Bock, thank you very much, anche per lo sfoggio linguistico multisfaccettato. Thank you very, very much Mr. Bock. And after all of these presentation and speeches, I want to close this panel this morning with Marcello Minenna. I would like to ask you, Dr. Minenna, a final comment on what we just saw here. I mean, customs played a key role in this crazy year, in this crazy 2020. What could be even better? What can we improve on the customs side, looking at the future, hoping, of course, that it will be brighter than we just saw?
Well, I really thank all the panelists for their words and also their presentation of the key issues, and also different specification that the administration all around the world have in this field. We have heard about the specific way in which works the CBB. We have seen also how the European Union is trying to push an harmonization process that is very tough to do. But and also I thank the UK representative, because we have done an important work also with you, as you know, and with your embassy in Italy, and with Switzerland we have done with your one digitalization process that you have magistrally described today, that express what, as a synthesis? It expresses that we can do something better and more. What I want to share with you, my friends, is that there is no goods traffics and currency traffics without a custom that works in a good way. What is important, in fact, to understand is that if the customs works, is like, you know, I like to make this comparison. There is a comparison in economics between the growing of the economy and the relationship with finance. Good finance is a great boost for the economy. I would say that a good customs is an important boost for the economy as well, through the goods traffic. It's not the case that in the European directive regulation it is written that the customs authority is in charge of contrast the serious crimes regarding goods traffic and currencies. It's not the case. And it's not the case that even in countries like Italy, for example, where we are not in charge of the borders protection because it's the state police that is in charge of this work, for example, and in Sicily this is very well known, we are in charge of identifying, collecting and destroying the sunk migrant boats that are very present over the Sicily Channel. You know why? Because these boats are in the customs spaces. And so these are property of the customs. So in other words, there are some general rules, and just to give you a figure, we have destroyed just in the last 6 months something like 1,000 sunk boats. That unfortunately has brought migrants from Africa or other parts of the countries that are in, are present in the Mediterranean Sea as a transit or because they are there. So what I want to say is that there are some general rules that comes really from the past that in a certain sense disciplines how all the countries have to interact and collaborate in order to allow a faster growing all the world economy. In this perspective, the decision of the Biden administration to remove the duties, recently and to stop this interaction, not very easy, I agreed with the President of the European Commission, it's a very important step beyond, as well as the cooperation also with the countries that are not within the European Union, but that are very close to the European Union. Customs and working of customs and a fair working of customs could give, in my opinion, a sense also to create a general common sense also about behavior, to create a shared hierarchy of values. I don't want to recall Hegel in this moment, but just to share the fact that if there is an anti-fraud activity, that is something that is common for all the countries, and it is fighting in customs. Not only there, but definitely there. Counterfeiting is a maximum common denominator, for example, the fight to the counterfeiting. So, in other words, that is the place and the procedure that the customs manage and also regulate could be an important point of starting for some general, better regulation also under, let's say, an ethical point of view. And in this perspective, the idea of the global tax and the idea of a global harmonization of the customs procedure, at least in the anti-fraudulent activity, in my opinion, could be an important step beyond on which all the countries have to work definitely. That is my final comment.
Grazie Marcello Minenna, Director General of the Customs Agency for Italy. So, thanks to all of my guests here, thanks to these people working for us, protecting us, for playing this fundamental role in this new world, and thanks to each one of you and each one who followed us on social media. Enjoy your lunch. The panel will start again in the very early afternoon. Thanks again. Grazie a tutti. Grazie. Buon lavoro.